Hello everyone and welcome back to Minecraft. Big preparations have been made. I'll show you what I'm building in a minute, but first this is where I'm building it. I'm amazed I've managed to get this to squeeze in snugly into the coastline. It's like really tight around the corner. Just one this time. I've had so many sets of 4 lately, it's been really annoying. And that's a topic I'll get back to in a second as well. But I'm going to be building a thing here. I mean, you probably know what it is from the title and the thumbnail. And these torches here are marking which parts are ocean biome. And I have to worry about the lighting for. The rest is mushroom, of course. And here's all the materials I need for it. All of that. And that. And that. And that. I mean, I've gone overboard slightly on most of the materials, but these take a while. I really wish there was a good way to farm mushroom stems, because I need loads of them. I like this build palette, but it's such a pain to get the mushroom stems. Now, unfortunately, I think I might have to sacrifice something here. And that something is going out of my way to maintain this. Because I think this build is probably going to take a couple of hours minimum. And I really cannot be bothered dealing with phantoms. I've had enough of them. So, yeah. I mean, it was a thing for 1.13 because the phantoms were new. I might just drop it entirely for 1.14 and not bother anymore, because not sleeping is so inconvenient sometimes. Anyway, before I get to building this thing, I'm going to show you what it is that I'm going to be building. So I started off by taking the chunk of the coastline that I was interested in, because I wanted to know what space I was fitting this into. And then I started building a framework with the most essential pieces in it. We've got the redstone circuitry, which actually you can't see from underneath because I didn't put any of it into this, so I just marked out where stuff was going. This is Logical Geek Boy's design for a villager trading system. Now I was going to go with Iskel's design for the selection chamber here and everything, and then so you have zombie villagers. Well, you drop villagers in, you turn them into zombies, and you cure them, which gets us the low prices, and then you send them on their way. But what Logical Geek Boy's design does is flips that on its head. You send your villagers in, and you have your zombies in here, so that you can drop these guys down, turn them into zombie villagers, cure them, and then their gossip spreads between them, so their prices get lower across the board. And it also means you can just do it whenever you want, rather than doing it at the start. Now, this thing has room for 25 villagers. And then I've done another floor, which has room for another 25. So I've got room for 50. There are 33 different enchantments in the game, I think. Something like 33. So I wanted to at least have enough to cover that. So that's why I've gone with 50. And then these rails carry them around, so they come in over here, they start there, they go that way, along there, and then they go up to the upper floor and around. And then back down, and, well, this is all for show and for initial structural sort of planning and getting the framework and stuff and making sure it all fitted into the coastline. And then I came over here, I just cloned that over here and started building the thing properly. So this is what I'm actually going to be building, this structure here. It's a great big box. I really need to work out how I want to decorate this thing, but this is what I'm going to be building. This is essentially the completed design. And yeah, I've tested it, it all works. Whether it'll work on Spigot is another question entirely. I'm half expecting Spigot to mess with activator rails, dumping them out for a start, but we'll see. what we've got here, underneath here, is a system that, well, it's all in the tutorial. I'll have the link to Logical Geek Boys tutorial in the video description. So that's got all the information you need about how this thing works. There is, however, one small change that I've made, and I'm just going to show you that. So in Logical Geek Boys version, there is a pressure plate in the middle of this room that you stand on to close this door behind you. It pushes the block up to there. And the reason for that is because villagers will pathfind out of this room to any other workstations outside it, so you block the path. I've changed it up so that instead of having to stand on the pressure plate, which isn't like an onerous thing to do, but instead of having to do that, when the villager comes in, they trigger this tripwire in front of this observer, which will push up the piston. Well, it one-ticks it so that it leaves the block behind and leaves the block up. And then when they leave, because the villager is slightly tall and is also in a minecart, so their head stays in this string while they're here. And then when you send them off, obviously their head leaves the string, which fires the piston and retracts the block. And that seems fine. Generally, that seems reliable, and they don't manage to attach to a workstation outside. If it proves to not be reliable, then the change I'll make is instead of doing it off the observer and the tripwire, I'll just do it off these two buttons. So when you request a villager, it'll push this up, and when you send them away, it'll drop it down. That'll be simple enough. And if that fails, then I'll go with the pressure plate. Anyway, I have a build to do, and we also have, in 1.14, the replay mod is back. So, this should be fun. Well, that time-lapse was fun to do. Took about 4 hours to build the whole thing. And it's fun using replay mod again. I'm sure they've improved the performance of it. It's a lot faster navigating back and forth on the timeline now. But it was really good fun putting that together, and I think it's come out really well. I'll go back over to the server to where the actual build is in a minute. But for the moment, I'm here because I've been thinking about the next steps. Now, obviously, we've got a villager storage chamber. That's fine. The villagers need to come from somewhere. There will be a villager breeder. That breeder could be out in the water, or it could just be up in the air. And I think I'm going to go with up in the air, and that means they've got to be dropped. Which is fine, because I'll just have some water here or something that they drop through. The trouble is, if I just let a breeder keep going, they'll accumulate, and once we get to 75 of them, they'll start to cram. And we don't want the villagers taking damage, because once they get in here, and you can redesign to get around this, but it would be a heck of a pain to redesign it now. Mumbo did a redesign for this. It was Mumbo using this design that brought me to find it. You can redesign it so that the redstone blocks are out and the villagers' heads don't go through them. It's fine for them to take a tick of damage. It won't kill them as long as they haven't taken too much damage beforehand. Now, if they've been cramming, obviously they will take damage beforehand. So, I don't want them to cram. Which means I want to read how many are in here. Which means, oh my god, actually using a weighted pressure plate. You know, the one redstone component that no one ever uses. Actually using it. So, 71 villagers gives a signal strength of 8, 70 is 7. So that's the threshold for cramming close enough. I can actually reduce it further by changing how many items are in here. That's fine. I might do that. I don't necessarily want 71 in here, but that's the highest I can go. And I've actually managed to cram this redstone in here, which I've impressed myself with a little bit, because it wasn't super easy, it just wasn't that difficult. So this block here can be a solid block without the villagers getting damaged, because the minecart goes through it, and then the villager's head ends up in this space and goes through the glass. So no suffocation damage there, that's fine, this can be a solid block, which means I can then take the readout. We use subtraction with an inventory here to get the signal length down, and then we feed it round the corner into this block. I did have 8 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 originally, which was fine, but then if there's a block in that space there, even if it's a slab or glass, the villagers in the minecart stops on that rail. So I can't have a block there, so I have to step up here, and then we're at the roof, so I can't raise this redstone line because the roof's there. So that's why I'm doing a subtraction signal instead to get it to this point. And then we've got a torch and then a piston. Now originally I was just going to send a signal up, just a redstone torch tower or something, but that doesn't look great. That never looks particularly good. So I need a vertical transmission that's more aesthetically interesting. And I came up with this. I've never seen anyone use this before. I doubt I'm the very first person to ever come up with it, but you never know. So this water column is all water sources, all the way up there, apart from this block here, which is falling water, so no bubbles. If I put a drowned in here, the drowned sinks, obviously. If I extend the piston, we get bubbles, and the drown goes up to the top, stops up here in the tripwire, and we have a signal. And then when you turn this off, that's falling water, so the bubbles stop, the drowned sinks back down. Doesn't really matter how slowly it sinks because it leaves the tripwire. It was a eureka moment. I was like, okay, what else can go upwards? Water, bubbles, can I send an item up? Yeah, but then I have to keep the items stocked. And then I was like, well, hang on, I could send a mob up, and then how do I bring it back down? Well, I just need to get rid of the soul sand. There's no room in there for a block swapper, but actually I can just pull the soul sand down and stop the bubbles. Awesome. Now, it's not very quick, it's not super slow. I mean, once the bubbles kick in, it's not bad. And there's no height limit to this whatsoever. This can be bedrock to build limit if you want, and it'll work just fine. Now, it's not instantaneous signal, it's not especially quick, but that's fine because we're talking about a villager breeder. You know, they don't operate very quickly. And there's also room for up to 4 extra villagers to come through here before they start cramming. So there's no hurry, and I could use this. I'm not going to use this because actually it's overkill. I just really like the idea of having the drowned in there. But actually it's overkill because you can just use an observer and detect the bubbles stopping and starting. Oh yeah, I forgot drowned burn. You don't normally see them out of water, so you don't tend to see them doing it. Flash. Flash. So yeah, I'll just use an observer. I don't know yet necessarily what villager breeder design I'm going to use, and therefore I don't know how I'm going to turn it off. Or I might not turn it off, I might just have a block that redirects a water stream and dumps excess villagers in lava. Doesn't really matter, I'll figure out some way of doing it. But there's a couple of extra things I need to do. Villager breeder obviously is the big deal. I also need a brewing setup so I can get the weakness potions. I'm also going to have to farm a lot of apples so I can make the golden apples. The other thing I need is these spaces down here, these ones behind the pistons, need a zombie in. Well, actually 5 zombies per floor, 1 there and 1 there, and then 1, 2, 3. Just so they don't have to detect a villager and walk the whole length of the thing. So I need to spawn some zombies, give them swords, and then get them into these spaces. That shouldn't be too difficult. So yeah, those are the next steps. Let's get back on the server. Sun is just coming up. Pretty good timing, not that it matters because I've been sleeping. Although I haven't slept for a few hours on here, so I will get phantoms again. It's a shame to lose that 100 and whatever hours it was, but you know, I just didn't want to put up with them while I was building. I've done this, by the way, this is now over here. It was a fairly straightforward change. It's just powers down here, then that goes that way into that. It means there's a torch here now, but that's fine. It's not too obtrusive. And then that just goes down there, and otherwise it's all the same. For a minute there, I thought that was an Enderman. But no. You thought you could hide up here. You really thought you could hide up here. Anything interesting? What a surprise. Oh, dark oak saplings. If I didn't have any, that wouldn't be too unhelpful. And lily pads, which are not actually renewable any other way. Anyway, yeah. You thought you could hide. You were wrong. As you can see, I've started building a path over here. Getting the paths in. I've been working on it. I've got the paths going over there as well. I've planned out where this one's going, more or less. It's coming together. The base is turning into actually a base for, I think, the first time on this server, really. Because on the first world, I put all my effort into the Pris machine and getting my island shaped like my emblem, and didn't actually have anything that could really be called a base going. Now on the second world, I didn't even achieve that much, I don't think, really. I didn't finish building the platforms, and it was generally not much. I had the little nether hub I did, which was nice, but third world was better, the museum. Now, over here, I've got some torches because this area is ocean and does need to be lit up. I'm not sure what to do about that. I don't really want the torches up here, but on the other hand, like, no one's ever going to come up here onto the roof of this thing. I mean, it's almost as tall as the chorus farm. It's like a block shorter or something. A couple of blocks. It's very close. I guess I could put some redstone lamps in or something. They'd kind of fit the aesthetic. Just put one there, one there. Don't know what I'd do with this bit. That's ocean. That'd be a bit too far away. what would it be? 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. And this blocks ocean. Yeah. This here is the lava that disposes of villagers if they make it all the way through and come out the other side. Yeah, I've got some changes to make in here. Obviously I need to get a solid block in there, and then put the redstone line around there, and put the piston in and everything. But it should all fit. Potion brewer I might put here, I guess. Or back here. I want to do something with this bit of space. What I don't know still is whether this will work. For all I know, Spigot messes with activator rail, dropping off entities, mechanics. I hope not, because if this whole thing doesn't work, I'll probably cry after spending 4 hours building it. But yeah, let's see. Villager breeder, I think, is the next step. The next thing I need to... Will you just take off? The next thing I need to get going. This looks cool. It's very plain. I need to do some sort of decoration on it. But I like the rail. I might need a fence here. I'm not 100% sure this will be zombie safe just because it's lit up and everything. So I might need a fence just along there. Okay. 1 left. So I'm just going to kill the spare. If I can do it without killing the one I'm actually after. Good. Sword for you. And a head for you. I said a head for you. Pick up the damn head. Thank you. Partly decorative, mostly so I can do this during the day without them burning, although it's raining now, so it would have been fine anyway. Come on. You're the last You're the last dude. Come on. I've given them all stone swords for now, because I can give them better swords, because I can get at them to throw. I don't have to... Hang on. Just get rid of this. I don't have to break my way into the... Well, I do, because I don't have a way down into the... underneath of all the redstone. But I'll clear this up in a minute. Just been going up and down that scaffolding. That goes up just beyond the despawn limit. So I'd go all the way up to the top, drop down a bit, wait for stuff to spawn. If there was too much stuff that wasn't zombies, I'd go back up so it despawned everything, and I just kept doing that. If I just hop down here, you'll see I can get in here and throw them better weapons if I want. I'll probably give them all diamond swords, possibly sharpness enchanted diamond swords. But they've got stone for now, just to get started. And so I have been designing once again. We have the bubble column trigger system here. This goes up here. In the actual world I will use polyglass panes for this, so it's less oops, didn't mean to actually end up in there. So it's less intrusive. This comes up here to these observers. This observer fires off this piston, which moves this block here in and out of the drop tube, and this observer here, which fires off this dispenser with lava in it. We have a little guy here waiting to grow up. Once he does, his head will go in the water and he'll come over and go down the drop tube, which is lined up. 32 blocks or so of glass is enough to make sure they fall straight down, based on testing so far. I don't want to have glass all the way down if I can avoid it. So that's all pretty straightforward. I will of course have a link to Impulse SV's tutorial for the Villager Breeder down in the description as well. So you're just waiting to grow up. And we have the breeder here. I will do a layer of glass over the whole thing as a lightning protection. I've just marked out where the glass is going to go out to with the that, but it'll be sort of at this height. So as the day progresses, he collects his potatoes. Then he starts, after it's getting past... Right, villager mechanics. As the day wears on, working time ends, so he'll stop farming and he'll come over and start chucking potatoes at these guys. These guys have the 5-minute breeding cooldown. They can use the beds when it's night time. Yeah, I don't know all the ins and outs personally, but I've picked up a lot of the key points while looking at this. These glass blocks here are to stop them popping out of the beds and onto these blocks down here. So, because you have to make sure they pop back in here on top of the fence post. So the babies drop out over the side of the fence into this water stream and go over here. And, oh, we've had another one. This, meanwhile, any potatoes that overflow these two villagers will just fall down, go into these hoppers, into this dispenser, and then I've just got the usual observer clock here. This is such a nice system for droppers. It used to be that you'd have the comparator, repeater, loop around thing, but this is just so tidy now because all we need is a comparator, a sticky piston, and a couple of observers. That's the entire thing. It's brilliant. So that just fires potatoes into here. They hit this glass, they drop straight down, and directly below this, I've got... Well, I didn't actually mean to destroy that. I mean, it doesn't actually matter at all what block is here, because it's got a hopper minecart in there. But just the crops, I'll probably do carrots rather than potatoes in the actual thing. They just drop onto here and get pulled into the hopper minecart, and I'll have a hopper and chest and stuff to collect them. So that's that. And yeah, that's basically the whole system. This thing is centered over this part of the building, which I hadn't realised. This part of the building here is actually square. It's actually square, completely unintentionally, so this thing is perfectly centered, which is nice. Anyway, that is what I'm going to build next, so I'm just going to get on with that one, and I'll see you when it is done. Just getting the lightning roof in, need a bit more glass, but we have our first baby villager. Actually, it's the second baby villager, because I had to breed the two. I don't know why I'm pointing over there, because the two are now here. I had to breed them to get a third one to be the farmer. So this is the second baby, and they produced this one from food left over from that breeding. But I've got them both in. I just need to get the other guy up here, and then this thing will actually be operational, and I can take down this hideous dirt tower. How dare you? You lose that profession this instant. He saw the barrel. However briefly, he saw the goddamn barrel. I have to like wait till night time or something, don't I, for this? For him to... just get in the boat. He'll probably disengage with it as soon as I get out of range. And even if he doesn't, once night passes, he'll lose the job and then pick up farmer. Which he should do. If not, I'm going to get really annoyed. This is exciting. This is actually exciting. This is the first time I've worked with villagers for... Well, I mean, I did a bit on the last world, but I didn't really go anywhere with it. I got some villagers in place, but I didn't really use them. not as villagers for trading. I put them in the museum. Have you... Yeah. Boat. Thank you. Good. Now get in there. Get in. I need to actually redirect the water before I get him in there. Ow. You. And you. Good. Where have you gone? Have you gone up? Oh, you're over there. You pain in the bum. Where's my boat? Oh, this is going to be a nuisance now because you can't step up the... Okay. I can work with this because the path comes right next to the water here. So I can... You notice I finished the paths, by the way. Now get in the water column, Go on, up. Go on, up. Now hopefully once he gets up here, he'll again lose the profession. I mean, I haven't traded with him, so he's not locked into the profession. We should be fine. And as I say, worst case scenario, I'll just wait till night. Stop looking at me like that. You've got work to do. Right then. I've got a dirt tower to dismantle, a glass roof to finish, and then we're done. This thing's ready. So we are done. Just going to go and put all this meat away in the storage system, and then I will show you where we're up to. The breeder is done. This all works. We've got some villagers. Oh, the babies are in there. The guy did turn into a farmer eventually. I was getting a bit antsy because he was taking his time, but he did. Glass is all done. Everything's done. I've rejigged the redstone on that a little bit, just so there's a repeater to extend the pulse so that it doesn't get an item in it, fire it, loses the item, observer attracts, gets an item, because of the rate the hopper feeds it. So that means it fires continuously, which is less annoying than the piston going back and forth. This system I can't test until I've got 71 villagers down there. I've got about 10 currently, I think. Something like. But that all works. The breeder is functional. Now, here is the big test. We have some dudes peeking through that little gap there. Here is the big test. Come on. Come on. Thank you. Bane of Arthropods 5 straight away. Not the most useful, but interesting that 5 came up. I do plan to get every enchanted book. There are 37. But obviously I'll prioritise useful ones first. Come on. Update faster. Come on. Bookshelves. Let's keep going until I get something useful. You know, protection 4, mending, unbreaking 3, sharpness 5, aqua affinity. You know, okay. Not super amazing, but that'll do as a demonstration. What I want to check here is, let's lock you in. So you are now stuck as a librarian. Let's try this out. You should come in over here and drop into the first cell. Oh, yes. That's where I was worried that the activator rails might drop them out in a different place because it's bigger. But no, it seems fine. So here we have Aqua Affinity. And I've got some golden apples and some weakness potions, so I can do the zombie thing. Let's get another one. What are you going to give me? When you're ready. Hey, I saw that. Come on. Thank you. Knockback 1. Let's go again. Roll the dice. Nothing. D-job. Please. D-job? Come on. You're going to be like this, aren't you? I might end up putting rails across the doorway there. It would render the system of raising this completely redundant because it just stops all mob pathing and therefore it completely seals it off. But it would mean I'd never have to worry about it. Oh my god, will you de-job? Come on. The other thing I could do is just put slabs across at this height so that I can sneak under, but that would also block pathing. There are options, but I quite like the setup I've got. Will you get on with it? Well, he finally de-jobbed. I was anticipating having to do quite a few more rounds, but the very next one is Silk Touch. I'm having that. Definitely having that. Absolutely having that. And away you go. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, so the next thing to do is to test this part of the system out. It's going to drop you. And we're going to drop you. And then we're going to do that. And that. And that. I'm going to need a lot of apples. You can name tag these guys to, in theory, stop them despawning, but I think apparently there's a bug where if you name tag a villager and they turn into a zombie villager, they don't keep persistence, so they can actually despawn. So I do need to stay here while these guys get cured. But then once they're cured, their prices should drop. And we'll see how good that drop is. In theory I didn't need to do both of them, but thought I might as well try it out. There's one. A Silk Touch guy, let's have a look. 1 emerald for Silk Touch. Oh yeah, that's amazing. Got a 1 emerald Silk Touch villager already. That is awesome. Anyway, I'm not going to sit here and wait for this guy to cure on video, because this episode's probably running long at this point. That's going to be it for this one. This has been a massive success so far. If you've enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, share, favourite and comment, help support the channel. Follow me on Twitter to stay up to date what's going on, and hello. And subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.